Good afternoon, Queen. Thank you for having me.
Zweli, could you kindly give us an update of what is going on in your home country?
Yes, Eswatini, as you will remember, in the past few weeks, there were political tensions, shooting and killing of civilians, allegedly by King Mswati's security forces, including soldiers. So what happened thereafter, there was an allegation of a major security threat against King Mswati, as his security forces has developed some elements of division, particularly in the army. There are those who are still supporting the king, and there are those who want to stand with the people in the cause for democratic reform. So this then placed the king in serious danger. You will know that in other countries ruled by dictatorships like King Mswati previously, some were removed from power by their own bodyguards. Some were killed. So King Mswati, in the past few weeks, it has been alleged that he then sourced some soldiers from the Equatorial Guinea to provide or enhance his security team in Eswatini. So that is what is happening currently here in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
So with the soldiers, or now with King Mswati being escorted by the Equatorial Guinea soldiers, what does it mean? What does it really mean to Swaziland? Should the people in Eswatini now feel, okay, now we must be in serious danger? I mean, if the king can have his private security from another country, should we have the same? Should you also trust our soldiers here if he himself seems to have lost trust in them?
Yes, of course, Queen. This is a serious problem. It's a serious threat against state security as well, because in the midst of these political tensions, there were some allegations among the citizens that some of the people who were harassing, beating them, and the shooting as well, were speaking English. And it was rare in Swaziland or Eswatini to see a soldier speaking English, because it is assumed that you must join the army. If you join the army, you must be a Swazi. That's the first requirement. So people were surprised to see in the street some soldiers who can't speak their language. They were speaking English. And then we decided to conduct investigations in this matter, and we then uncovered that indeed these soldiers from Equatorial Guinea are still in Eswatini, but they are providing security to the head of state, which of course is compromising state security as a whole, because each and every country must be protected by soldiers of another country. We are surprised. Obviously, we need to dig more in this matter.
Right. Before I let you go, Zweli, could you kindly also update us on the Trade Union Congress of Swaziland? I know they had a protest. Was it on Friday? What was that all about?
Yes, the Trade Union Congress of Swaziland, Tukoswa, is a union affiliated by, there are various trade unions in Eswatini, so they are affiliating under Tukoswa, being the Trade Union Congress of Swaziland. So these unions, they decided to come together and deliver a petition on Friday to Parliament. They're demanding, among others, an investigation into the alleged crimes against humanity. They are also calling for a political dialogue. They are also calling for government to come out clear in the issue of there is what we call the 1973 decree. The 1973 decree was issued by the late King Sobhuza, King Mswati's father, who banned political parties from participating in elections, and obviously he assumed executive, judicial, and legislative powers. That's why Eswatini is now an absolute monarchy. It was true that 1973 decree, Eswatini before, there were political parties and they were participating in election and contesting power. But then the King Sobhuza decided that he must take over those powers from the people through that 1973 decree. So the Trade Union of Congress of Swaziland are demanding that with the existence of the constitution, which obviously that there are some calls within some political quarters that it must be amended to allow a clear democratic reforms. But there's this 1973 decree that these trade unions, they believe, is still in existence despite the existence of the constitution. So they're calling for government in terms of international law to come out clear whether this 1973 decree is still in existence, because we are seeing police and the soldiers harassing people who are protesting. And if you look at that decree, it states clearly that no one should protest without... in fact, it says no one should protest. Security forces will be unleashed to anyone who will engage in a protest action.
Zweli?
Yes, Queen, I'm still on the line.
Okay. Thank you so much for making time to speak to us, and we will keep on asking now to give us an update on what exactly is happening. But in terms of what when this started with the protests in the cities and all that, do we still have that now?
Yes, Queen, the protests are continuing. It wasn't only the parliament protest that manifested on Friday. There were other protests in the rural areas. People are demanding the release of the arrested pro-democracy MPs. And now protests are being planned. The schools might be involved, and other trade unions are also planning to take part in the protest. There might be a massive protest in the coming weeks to intensify the demands for democratic reforms.
In all this, any word from King Mswati?
King Mswati addressed the nation on the 16th July 2021, and the people were angered because it demonstrated some level of arrogance. And that's why now they are planning to intensify the action until their demands are met. If you look at the situation, Queen, in Eswatini, somehow it might seem to be normal now, but what is happening is that people are still planning activities undercover, and we might see a more chaotic political situation in the next coming weeks, Queen.
Okay. Zweli, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.